there's a lot of opportunity right now, as crazy as it sounds, because it doesn't look like it. You know, with rates sky high, prices are sky high.
These are differentials that you really can think about and say, well, in grocery money, $5,000 is a lot of money. In real estate money, it's sometimes a drop in the bucket. It kind of makes me wish I had listened to this episode 10 years ago.
Can we send this episode back in time to our,
past Jordan
ourselves?
Slap him around, tell him listen.
Well, welcome to the Cash Flow Bros podcast. My name's Todd.
My name's Rob.
My name's Jordan.
And the sequence, how we do that is I look at you, and then you know it's your turn to actually say your name.
Whoops.
Roll
call. So let's talk about this episode. We previously had a couple guests in. We're probably going to bring some more guests in. That was super fun. But we're back to just the three of us, which is really exciting. For us, hopefully it is for our viewers, listeners as well. Exciting. We are on YouTube now,
which is awesome.
Yeah. If you want to see Jordan's outfits every week, now you get to see what he looks like
every day.
By far the best looking out of all of us.
No doubt. You can hear the sex appeal, but you can see it on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's almost too much.
It is. My wife tells me that every time we go somewhere.
She's like, "You're on YouTube now." She's like, "Get him off.
Get him off, please.
It's gonna be bad."
What's that Dolly Parton song? Jolene. Don't take my man. That's Callie when we go out in public. Every time.
That's funny. And now we thought we'd talk today about. All of us got into investing in one form or another, but more often than not, we hear a lot of people about getting into investing with their first property, or even if they're not going to, like long term, you could potentially not want to own rentals like I do.
Right.
But real estate is an investment.
Correct.
And whether you're buying a rental property or you're buying your own home, I think there's some opportunities in the current market right now that we have in front of us to definitely make a great investment.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd talk about it. What's your first deal? Maybe approach from that first deal of like, what would we do if this was our first deal? Knowing what we know now, how would we approach a first deal? Some opportunities that are in this current market, specifically in Birmingham. And kind of tackle it from there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity right now, as crazy as it sounds, because it doesn't look like it. With rates sky high, prices are sky high. How could I say there's still opportunity? Well, now is the chance that houses that need just a little bit of love, like we were talking about earlier, carpet and paint and just some things that you can do yourself, you can get a bargain on those because they're sitting out there, and sellers that have those properties are almost, freaking out after 14 days on market and are willing to take a significant loss just to get it off their hands. Yeah. Even though it could sit out there a little longer and be just fine. Huge opportunity for first-time buyers or second buyers to come in, put that equity in themselves, and even if they don't want to keep it as a rental later, well, you've put in enough equity yourself to turn around and actually make a profit whenever rates do come down, even if by 1%. I think we all agree that the prices will start skyrocketing again with the inventory that's out there.
And maybe even negotiate a rate buy down when you purchase it, so your rate ends up being more of a normal rate.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah, there's some really creative ideas with financing. So you can do this rate buy down. It's a 2-1 where the first year you can, potentially get $400 to $200 less on your payment. Second year would be $200 to $100. Obviously there's variables with the price points you're buying at, but this 2-1 buy down, it basically leverages the opportunity for other sellers to give you that. They have to pay for it, but you can ask for it. You can request it. And so there's an opportunity.
Huge.
There's actually a house in Chelsea that it didn't completely pin out as a investment property, but it is actually a really good buy and hold for someone who's a first-time buyer.
Yep.
And I've been pitching it and trying to find someone who would be interested. So here's the situation. Basically, there's a family situation with this property. It's not selling, and they need to move on from the property. Nice garden home in Chelsea. It's probably worth about $300 to $310. Comps even say maybe even 320s. But here's the problem. Currently, because of all these crazy rates, there is newer homes being built. There's new home builds. And what the builder has done is done a buy down, a huge buy down for if you work with their lender. Mm-hmm. So that lender is providing 5.5%. And at the end of the day, what are we looking for? A monthly payment, right?
Yeah.
And so they're spending that 320 on these new properties and also getting this incentive from the lender.
Yeah.
And so even though comp-wise, they're similar stats, everything says that this slightly older home should be pretty comparable to the brand new home built. Maybe a little less money, but not much.
Yeah.
It's tanking because why buy this older home that's not even old,
yeah,
or go next door, older home, and go next door. So here's the opportunity, right? You effectively can buy this house at a discounted rate. You could come in with a lower offer, and then once their buy down, once all that neighborhood is stabilized, once all of that buy down and rates maybe stabilize a little bit, get a little bit lower. You're talking about 5 years from now. The landscape of those comps are same.
Yeah.
Same thing.
They're the exact same house, pretty much, because now you have two homes that are garden homes, two homes that are not brand new but newer, and they're pretty much very close to each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so effectively you buy it a lot lower, but as soon as these economic things stabilize, you get all this equity spread just from the situation of a company doing a buy down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially somebody that's going to live in it. There's really not a huge difference between a 2012 and a 2014 or a 2020 or even 2018 and a 2023.
And you could potentially, I think you could pick up this property potentially for 250, 240.
Wow.
Potentially. Maybe not now, but if it's still sitting in December, I think they're willing to talk.
That's interesting.
And so then what do you have? Like probably first, once you sign that check, in the moment, you can't resell that property.
Yeah, you have to understand you're going to be in it for 5 years.
But in 5 years, you have $50K in addition of equity.
Plus the appreciation.
I think that's exactly the value of an agent that knows what's going on in the market and understands markets themselves really well, because that what you just described is a price distortion brought about by like one big player that's putting a lot of money into one thing that's kind of changing the market in that little section.
Just in that little pocket.
Yeah, just in a little micro. It's not even the whole Birmingham. It's just one little section, but you can see what's happening and kind of tell the story. And it's like there's no doubt in my mind that exactly what you just said, in 5 years, that's going to be the case. Like it's going to be selling for the exact same as those new homes. The comps are going to kind of all rise up to where those new ones are because they'll be a little older. And somebody, if let's say they get that house for $50,000 below, what it should appraise for right now, and maybe they do some paint and clean it up a little bit.
Yeah,
they're going to do really well.
Yeah. And then, the second step to that would be, okay, we have that equity. We could turn that into a rental and buy another house, or you just sell it. You take that equity and put it into your new house, and you have a little more leverage on your down payment for your second home.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, that's a good way of looking at it. I hate to point it out, but we're not like every agent. Everybody's different first off, right? But we're not like everybody because we do deal so much with the investment side that we understand the gains that come with having that $50,000 worth of equity spread. And there's most of the realtors out there, they understand equity and they understand how it works, but they don't know what it really does. They just say, you can get this a little cheaper than you normally could. Whereas we can tell the whole story of, well, because this is happening over here, you can buy it with $50,000 worth of equity where it's at and come back and use it later for another property or another investment versus you get a discount on the home.
And you don't just understand how it works. You've experienced it in your life
Yeah,
Like,
recently.
Yeah.
Going through it right now.
It's been working for you. You've done it.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
And seen it come back around. And so that's why you believe. It's not just you read it online or somebody told you about it. Like,
exactly.
You've been in it.
This wasn't just a training class.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was the School of Hard Knocks, I guess. Or Good Knocks. I've been blessed with it. It hasn't been hard as it should be.
Wish we could all attend the School of Good Knocks.
Yeah. Let me tell you, it's great. Tickets are selling fast.
It's an awesome experience. Well, so you had an equity spread because you found something that needed some carpet and paint, maybe a little more. You built a back deck.
Talking about on this one I'm doing that I just did, or my first
current house that you moved into just recently.
Yep, similar story. Yeah,
and then effectively you added the equity. Now you're just sitting on extra equity. You refied out.
It's imaginary now, but I know in a couple of years it won't be when it needs to be tapped into.
Yeah,
even on the first Bluff Park house that we did, literally everything pretty much had been updated. It was painted the color. We came in and painted it. It went from white to gray. Whoop-de-doo. But we changed out 2 bathrooms.
Oh, really? Just two?
Just 2 bathrooms. Redid them, and then added a back patio thing. $100,000 of equity.
Wow.
From maybe $40,000 worth of work.
Now, some of that was the market, right?
Some of that was the market, but also, I changed it went from a 1.5 to a true master, a true guest bath,
right?
As well as adding 200 plus square feet. So I mean, yes, the market was a part of that, but I think even if the market hadn't have exploded, I think it still would have been $40,000 worth of work for at least $60,000,
60 or 70,
70.
Yeah.
So you've kind of done like the live-in flip where you fix it up as you go a little bit, and then you did like a flip, then live-in.
Yeah.
And
what's next? Am I going to be the person that has to sell my house to make it a flip?
Well, I think if I'm looking at the market right now, and this ties back with, where we started, for a first deal, how do I get involved in investing or in this market right now? I think the live-in flip acquisition right now is the best way to get into it. You probably don't love whatever rate you get. You're not like, I want to keep this for 30 years.
Yeah.
You're not going to love that, but there's a lot of opportunities for houses that need a little bit of work. There's a lot of those type properties that are not selling.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could go out and find 4 of those tomorrow to look at.
Yeah.
In nice areas.
Yeah.
Like
in nice areas.
Live in
something that
Hoover,
was
Helena.
Built in the 90s and still has red shag carpet, on it, and wallpaper from 1995.
Well, because a lot of people, when these houses are not as fixed up, they don't maybe have the vision for it,
which is true.
But they're also like, man, if I'm going to put this much money on, a high interest rate and all this, I better get what I want. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what they're thinking.
I get that mentality.
You keep on hearing marry the house, not the rate right now.
Yeah, a million times.
And I just hear, to me, I'm just like, I don't want to marry anything but my wife. But
amen. Thank you, Callie. When you're listening, I want you to hear that. I'm the same.
Bring romance into this.
Bring the romance into it. But I come back to like ultimately, I'm looking for opportunity.
Yeah.
Like Greg said, last week in our podcast, he's like, ultimately those who seek, who are investors, we don't care about the markets. We look for opportunity.
Exactly.
And I agree. I think the live-in flip or, the slightly subpar houses that have been sitting in this market because of rates are prime opportunity for someone. Now, will I buy it? Probably not.
Because I'm
different margins.
Yeah, I'm not living in it.
Right.
That makes all the difference in the
for
world.
a first-time person who's investing,
yes.
You can find some margin enough that it would make sense for you to live in it as well.
Yeah.
So, what I think is also interesting as well is there's so many Airbnbs out here, right?
Yeah.
What's to say? We say live in, but like, what's to say that you don't sell your current home or whatever if you need a place or you're still renting? You just float an Airbnb or your current rental for 3 to 4 months while you work on the new property and then move into your ready property. You don't have to live in it.
It's true.
And, sometimes we think, I say this to a lot of clients, there's real estate money and there's grocery money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And think about it, like what's an Airbnb or an extra 4 months of, renting your place? We're talking about 3, 4, 5 grand maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more, but at the end of the day, when you're doing these equity spreads of 50K potentially, 20K.
What is 5K?
What is, like these are differentials that you really can think about and say, well, if we did this and this, yes, in grocery money, 5,000 is a lot of money. In real estate money, it's sometimes a drop in the bucket compared to the bigger opportunity, the bigger deal that you have in front of you. And so I think it's a great opportunity to reach out to, one of us that could help you find those margins.
Yeah. I think the difference, is there's always an opportunity. That's something like Greg said too. For every negative, there's a positive and an opportunity that's created, just like you said with, there's this home builder offering discounted financing on their homes. Like, it's
Dang
a problem.
DR Horton.
It's a problem, but you're like, it creates an opportunity. Every negative thing that happens, high rates, high prices, creates a different opportunity for those who know how to read what's going on. And I think that's definitely out there right now for the live-in flip, even if it's just very minimal work. And we have clients going back. I've been doing this 7 years now, and there's clients that have probably made as much from their living choices, like where they choose to live and how it works as an investment for them, as they have from their day job.
Really?
Wow.
Over that 7 years.
Interesting.
There's a handful that I would be willing to bet that's the case. And, within that time, do a move or two. And if you're really geared up to, that's your strategy, you're going to move every couple years and you want to keep doing this, I think a lot of people could easily double their annual income from making good decisions about that.
Now, to be clear, that's not directly maybe cash in pocket right away.
No.
It's equity. It's equity spread.
Exactly.
But still, like, we're talking about you're working your 9 to 5.
Yes.
And then you're adding almost the same amount of money in equity for retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
that's more than a 5% match.
Yeah.
Last time I checked.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think there's a very real chance that, within a year, like let's say your family makes $60,000 a year and you buy a house that needs some work, and definitely over the last couple of years, you get a little bit of a tailwind of price appreciation, you do some work. There's a very real chance that within a year to 2 years, you've got 120,000 more equity than when you bought it.
Yeah.
And I've seen it even before 2020 craziness.
Yeah.
Like I've saw that happen a lot of times where people made a really good acquisition, the right property in the right area. That's really hot where everything is going. And, you don't have to necessarily do a lot, just do the right things in the right area. Yeah. The right kind of house.
Yeah.
And, it can be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I've also seen like couples come together and leverage their skill sets to find opportunities. So maybe, I've seen where the wife kind of has that, good aesthetic and kind of understands like how to decorate and how to do decor and all that and make decisions on tile, and they love it and they enjoy it. And so they go into these live and flip opportunities, making it their own for the time being. But on the backside, it's like they spend a lot of effort and time making it great because they have a good eye.
Right.
And it leverages them as basically an interior designer. And then on the backside, it sells for more because they put that effort in.
Yeah.
So there's always something a couple can come together, or even someone who's not married, and figure out like, what do I have to leverage to bring to this real estate opportunity? And I'm going to use that to make a purchase.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, think about it opportunity wise. A year and a half ago, man, you had like 10, 20 offers on properties.
Yeah.
Now you can find a property that just needs paint.
Yeah.
I literally saw one that was in a great area. Or was it? I think it was Pelham, maybe it was Alabaster. Literally, they just painted 4 walls in that house bright red. The house looked great besides that,
Yeah.
And it's been sitting out there for a while.
Roll Tide, baby.
Yeah, wrong red.
It was bright red.
Yeah, but close enough. They're both ugly as sin. But something like that, it's been sitting out there. That's a great deal for somebody that 2 years ago, that house would have been scooped up
so fast.
And you don't have to fight 10 other people now.
Yeah.
And you can get a discount and have a good equity spread and literally just paint. Go in there and paint it agreeable gray, alabaster white, whatever you want. And
Don't give away my paint colors.
Yeah, sorry. I think that's everybody's paint colors. But you put that in, boom, you're right back to where the house should have sold at originally. I think you could almost turn around and sell it. I wouldn't advise doing that because you're still going to lose money if you do that. But live in it, different story.
And go into it because we need margins when I flip a house. I'm paying for my money. I'm paying for a lot of different things that a live-in flipper does not.
Nope.
Right.
And so the margins don't have to be as great. And so you can still make good money with these, potential purchases and some sweat equity.
Yeah.
Instead of put on the game and paint.
Yeah.
Shoot. Do both. So.
Shoot. Sign me up.
But yeah, so let's get back down to the practical. Okay. So you're listening to this. You're kind of like, I'm all in. I want to do this. What are some next steps that we would, advise besides just give me a call and I'll help you out?
That's step one.
That's step one. Give me a call. But what are some practical steps that we could help people with of like, okay, now let's throw it out there.
Yeah. I think, it definitely starts, we tell, this is like the cliche, starts with figuring out, how much property you can buy.
Yeah.
It starts, I would definitely try to figure out like everything about lending, like getting pre-qualified with the lender. There's some things with loan possibilities, like 2 or 3K loans for what we're talking about, where you can include the costs of renovation in the purchase price. Like there'll be an escrow for renovation. And I've seen some people do really well with those. So that's something you would definitely want to ask about. And, any of us can, help inform you on that as well. I think figuring out what is possible from a financing standpoint, like talking to a lender, is probably the first thing I would do.
Definitely. I think, too, understanding what you're willing to walk into.
Yeah.
Not just from the finance standpoint, because you need to know how much you can afford and how much you want to afford, but also what are you willing to do? Yeah. If it needs a brand new kitchen, are you willing to be cooking microwave meals for 4 to 8 weeks while your kitchen's being redone? And are you willing to deal with people being in there all the time? Or are you more of, hey, I literally just want paint?
Right.
Because that changes what you're able to look for.
Oh, yeah.
So it's good to know what you're willing to deal with as well.
Yeah.
But pre-approval is first.
Yeah, definitely
know
where the money's coming from, what opportunities are at your fingertips as far as that goes. I think, finding someone that is knowledgeable in the area and also in the opportunities that are out there and finding that margin, working with someone is key.
Yeah.
Because you just can't find just anybody who's like thinks outside the box and thinks from a standpoint of like, let's get you a great home, but it also could be a good investment. I actually sat down when I was first getting into all this and I sat down with a guy who knows a ton about, investing, all these kinds of things. And we were trying to move from our current property into an investment into a new home and turn our old home into an investment property. And I was really like getting worried about it and just trying to make the right decision. And he was like, Todd, life's about doubles and singles. Life, get on base. Like this move to a new house and turning your first house into a rental doesn't have to be a home run. It's just got to be a double or single. And so ultimately, it's still your wife's home. It's not your home. Just
this
FYI.
This is true. This is true.
But it still can be a good purchase, and it can still be a wise, investment. But primarily, it's a first home for your wife, and then second, it can be a good opportunity for wealth growth. Mm-hmm. And so that just helped take the ease off of it. And we talk about some of these big numbers, but even a $20,000 equity gain first day of purchase.
Oh yeah.
Is huge.
Yeah. It's huge.
And we can find those opportunities.
Yeah.
You just have to look for them. They are out there now, and you just have to work with the right person who knows how to find those opportunities. And that 20 grows into 30, grows into 40 over the years.
Mm-hmm.
The agent is super important. I mean, think about how many, it's not like they're growing on trees by any means, but think about how many off-market like houses we see before they even go to market. Not just investment properties, but houses that maybe do need a little bit of work, and somebody comes to us first to see, do we want to take it on as a flip? No, the margins aren't here for this. Those get brought to us pretty often, and if we have somebody that we know what they're willing to deal with, paint, kitchen, et cetera, that is the value that we bring besides understanding the processes.
Yeah.
So I was driving last week and saw a property that I was like, this one could be really good for somebody because it's a quadplex in a really great area.
Yeah.
And very early in my career, I helped somebody buy a quadplex in a really great area. And there's almost none of those in Birmingham.
No, I wish there were more of them. God, we get calls all the time about them.
Yeah. It's extremely hard to find. The ones you find, maybe you find like a weird chopped up house.
Yeah.
It's a quadplex.
Happens a lot.
This is newly built, beautiful quadplex. I just checked, and the purchase price is going to be within conforming Fannie Mae loan limits, which my understanding is that with the new way they've structured those, you could buy this quadplex in an incredible area with 5% down, and it would be a conforming Fannie Mae loan.
That's amazing.
It's really
and
incredible.
Then you live in one side.
And you live in one. If you're
then you have 3 units.
If you're a young professional, guy or girl in Birmingham making a reasonable income, the amount of loan that you can qualify for goes way up because you've got 3 units that are rented.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's pretty much going to cover your mortgage and maybe a little bit more, even with the high rates.
Mm-hmm.
It's, to me,
I want to go back in time and buy this
property. Can I go
if
back?
I was a younger professional and that was something it's just like served up perfectly. There's nothing like it. It's in a great appreciating area.
Yeah.
It's like everything that you would want to sink your teeth into and hold forever. Like you move on with your life, and you've got this really special investment property.
Yeah.
That is gonna. It could be your. If that's all you did was own that, you could probably generate a decent like average retirement.
Yeah.
That's the only.
If you owned it free and clear and
you just keep it for
lived
30
off the
years.
cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just mind blowing, and there's not a lot like that in Birmingham.
Right.
But I happened to drive past one. I called. It was like a pre-listing kind of situation. Called the agent, got the details, and
so reach out to Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those that to me is like, I've pushed people to do, house hacking and live in flips, but there's none like this. Yeah. Very few like this in Birmingham.
It's awesome.
And it can be amazing.
Just thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
So we got lending. You need to take care of lending if you're going to do this move. You got to figure out, like I said, what you're okay with,
comfortable with. Yeah.
And I think that's a good conversation, with your spouse or the person who's you're going to be with, or if you're just by yourself. But at the end of the day, you have to really say, what are we comfortable? What am I comfortable renovating? And then I think lastly, like I said, would be working with someone who can help find those outside the box opportunities.
Yeah.
And help you guide you through that process. So, man, it gets me fired up. It kind of makes me wish I listened to this episode 10 years ago.
Can we send this episode back in time to
past Jordan
ourselves?
Slap him around, tell him listen.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like I said, I go back to the whole analogy. It's just doubles and singles.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes in life we get this energy to change our lives, or this energy to make an investment, and we forget that over time, success is, you know, really what happens over time. It's not an overnight thing.
And I would say, you know, I guess this might tie some things together, but like from a doubles and singles, I love that. That's a great philosophy. What became our first investment property, my wife house hacked. It was just like a 2-1, 900 square foot property. It was in a really great area, good location. But she overpaid for it. She didn't get any kind of like special deal or financing. She got a roommate to pay what ended up being like a little more than half the mortgage, maybe.
Right.
And that's it. Like we just she owned it for 4 years before we got married. And then we owned it for maybe another 5 years after we were married, and sold it and used the proceeds to buy a beach house.
And now look at your tan.
Yeah, so that's a single.
That's a single that turned
into a home run
over time. She didn't do anything special. It's just a single. So if you're renting right now, a single for you is calling one of these guys and figuring out, how do I just get in a house?
Yeah.
It's huge.
Get in the game.
That's
You're in the
crazy.
game.
You're in the game.
If you own property.
We got to come every week with a sports analogy now. I feel like we just got to keep them coming.
Just do it.
I don't even think about it. They just come out.
They just come out.
It's all the years of coaching.
They've always got good sayings.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, hopefully this has been helpful to someone out there.
Yeah.
I hope so.
The interwebs.
Some 24-year-old just salivating right now.
Yeah.
Get me in the game.
Just get in the game. Just get in the game.
Hope you all enjoyed it. We'll catch y'all soon.